The world of international diplomacy was rocked this past month by a development that few saw coming. In a move that reverberated across continents, Turkey, a nation long considered a linchpin in both regional and global politics, made a decision that would upend months of careful negotiations and strategic planning. When Turkey, a key NATO ally and a country with deep historical ties to both the West and the Muslim world, rejected President Trump's highly anticipated peace plan for Gaza, the diplomatic community was left stunned. This was not just a routine disagreement, it was a bold and public rebuke of a proposal that had been crafted with painstaking attention to regional sensitivities. The news broke like a thunderclap, sending shockwaves from Washington to the Middle East and beyond. Diplomats scrambled to assess the fallout, as world leaders convened emergency meetings and analysts speculated on the far-reaching consequences. The rejection was covered extensively by global media, highlighting the gravity of the moment and the uncertainty it introduced into an already volatile region. The United States had counted heavily on Turkey's support, hoping that Ankara's influence could help persuade Palestinian factions, including the powerful and often intransigent Hamas, to come to the negotiating table and accept the terms of the deal. Turkey's unique position as a mediator and its credibility among Muslim-majority nations made its backing crucial for the plan's legitimacy. But Turkey's outright rejection not only stalled the peace process, it also exposed deep and growing fractures in the US-Turkey relationship. Tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface, over issues ranging from Syria to defense agreements, suddenly erupted into the open, casting a shadow over future cooperation. The timing of Turkey's announcement was especially significant. It came just days after a high-profile meeting between President Trump and President Erdoğan at the White House, where both leaders had projected an image of unity and mutual respect. Behind the scenes, however, it was clear that fundamental disagreements remained unresolved. Despite the optimistic language used in official statements, Turkey's bold move made it clear that there were deep ideological and strategic divides. Turkish officials speaking at press conferences and to the media emphasized their commitment to a just and lasting peace, one that, in their view, the American plan simply did not deliver. As a nation that quite literally bridges Europe and Asia, Turkey carries enormous geopolitical weight. Its voice resonates not only within NATO and the European Union, but also among Muslim-majority countries, many of whom look to Ankara for leadership on issues affecting the wider Islamic world. Turkey's stance on the Gaza peace plan sent a powerful message to its allies and adversaries alike. The rejection signaled that the American proposal lacked the broad regional consensus needed for success. It also emboldened other regional actors to voice their own reservations, and sparked protests within Turkey itself, where many citizens felt that their government was standing up for Palestinian rights and regional autonomy. In the aftermath, the geopolitical landscape has been fundamentally reshaped. Analysts and policymakers are now forced to reconsider their strategies, as the path to peace in the Middle East becomes even more complex and uncertain. Turkey's stunning rejection has not only altered the course of one peace plan, it has set the stage for a new chapter in international relations, where alliances are tested and the search for consensus continues. What exactly was in the ambitious plan that Turkey ultimately rejected? The proposal, crafted with high hopes by the Trump administration, was designed to address the ongoing humanitarian crisis and persistent violence in Gaza. But what were its key elements, and why did it fail to gain crucial support from one of the region's most influential players? President Trump's 20-point proposal was a sweeping attempt to end the two-year conflict in Gaza, which had left thousands displaced and infrastructure in ruins. The plan was presented as a comprehensive roadmap, aiming not only to halt the violence but also to lay the groundwork for long-term stability and prosperity in the region. Central to the plan were promises of a long-term ceasefire, large-scale reconstruction of Gaza's devastated infrastructure, and significant economic aid packages. Billions of dollars in international assistance were pledged, with the hope of rebuilding schools, hospitals, and homes, and creating new opportunities for employment and growth. The United States believed that Turkey's endorsement was absolutely essential for the plan's success. Turkey's unique relationship with Hamas and its growing diplomatic influence in the Middle East positioned it as a potential bridge between Western powers and Palestinian leadership. High-level discussions took place in Doha, where officials from Hamas, Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt gathered to debate the proposal's merits. These talks were seen as a rare opportunity to bring together key regional players who could shape the future of Gaza. The U.S. pushed for swift acceptance, offering not only billions in aid but also mechanisms to gradually lift parts of the long-standing blockade on Gaza. American officials argued that this was a historic chance to break the cycle of conflict and deprivation. However, the plan's strict security requirements, particularly those demanded by Israel, proved to be a major stumbling block. Many Palestinian groups saw these conditions as too restrictive, fearing they would undermine their autonomy and fail to address core grievances. In the end, Turkey's refusal to support the plan left it without its most important regional advocate, casting doubt on the proposal's viability and leaving Gaza's future as uncertain as ever. Before the peace plan's rejection, Trump and Erdoğan met at the White House. The meeting was filled with high expectations, but failed to produce firm commitments on key issues. A major topic was Turkey's energy relationship with Russia, which Trump urged Erdoğan to cut. Despite public optimism, deep-seated disagreements remained unresolved. The leaders avoided discussing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict publicly, but it was a major point of contention. Erdoğan accused Israel of genocide in Gaza, revealing a deep divide that the meeting failed to bridge. Turkey's firm rejection of the Trump administration's Middle East peace plan is deeply rooted in its long-standing support for the Palestinian cause. For decades, Turkey has positioned itself as a vocal advocate for Palestinian rights, consistently opposing policies and proposals that it perceives as undermining Palestinian sovereignty or dignity. This stance is not just a matter of foreign policy, but also resonates strongly with the Turkish public, who have repeatedly demonstrated solidarity with Palestinians through protests, humanitarian aid, and political activism. In Ankara, government officials viewed the Trump proposal as heavily favoring Israeli security interests while sidelining the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. Turkish leaders argued that the plan failed to address the core issues at the heart of the conflict, such as the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for refugees, and the establishment of a viable, independent Palestinian state. This perspective was echoed in official statements, media coverage, and diplomatic communications, all emphasizing that any peace process must be fair and inclusive. President Erdoğan has been especially outspoken, repeatedly condemning the ongoing blockade of Gaza and calling for the international community to address the root causes of the conflict. He has insisted that peace cannot be achieved through unilateral decisions or by ignoring the suffering of ordinary Palestinians. Under Erdoğan's leadership, Turkey has sent humanitarian aid to Gaza, supported reconstruction efforts, and used its diplomatic channels to raise awareness about the humanitarian crisis. By rejecting the Trump plan, Turkey reaffirmed its commitment to seeking a more just and equitable solution for Palestinians. Turkish officials have consistently argued that any lasting peace must be based on international law, United Nations resolutions, and the principle of self-determination for the Palestinian people. This position has strengthened Turkey's image as a defender of justice in the region. Turkey also seeks to enhance its influence in the broader Muslim world by challenging the United States and other Western powers on the issue of Palestinian rights. By taking a strong stand, Turkey aims to position itself as a leader among Muslim-majority countries, advocating for unity and collective action in support of Palestine. This diplomatic strategy has helped Turkey build alliances and strengthen its regional presence. A key factor in Turkey's approach is its relationship with Hamas, which it does not designate as a terrorist organization. Instead, Turkey views Hamas as a legitimate political actor and an essential part of the Palestinian political landscape. This relationship has drawn criticism from some Western countries, but Turkey maintains that dialogue with all Palestinian factions is necessary for achieving a comprehensive peace. By rejecting the Trump deal, Turkey aligned itself closely with the Palestinian leadership, sending a clear message to the world that no peace plan can be imposed without the genuine consent and participation of the Palestinian people. This principled stance underscores Turkey's belief that only a negotiated, inclusive process can bring about a just and lasting peace in the region. Turkey's rejection of the Gaza peace plan created ripples across the Middle East. Hamas, given political cover by Turkey, took its time to respond. Other Middle Eastern countries reacted with caution, viewing Turkey's move as a necessary check on a one-sided US-led process. Israel expressed disappointment, reinforcing the view that a durable peace with current leadership is unlikely. For the US, the rejection was a public setback, forcing a reassessment of its strategy. The rejection damaged the credibility of the American effort, showing the limits of US influence. Turkey's rejection of the Gaza deal is linked to other disputes with Washington. A major friction point is Turkey's removal from the F-35 program due to its purchase of Russia's S-400 system. US sanctions on Turkey's defense industry have strained relations further. Erdoğan hoped to resolve these issues during his White House visit, but no action was taken. The US has pressured Turkey to stop buying Russian energy, but Turkey has deepened ties with Moscow. These unresolved disputes weaken the US-Turkey alliance, contributing to Turkey's rejection of the Gaza plan. Allegations of secret deals surrounded US-Turkey diplomacy. Turkish opposition leader Özgür Özel claimed Erdoğan met with Donald Trump Jr. to bargain for a White House visit. The alleged deal involved massive purchases of American aircraft in exchange for political favors. Erdoğan denied the allegations, but a Turkish source confirmed a courtesy visit took place. The truth remains murky, with economic interests at play during high-level talks. Turkey's rejection of the Gaza peace plan leaves the region's future uncertain. Without Turkey's support, building regional consensus is difficult for the US. The decision reshapes power dynamics, elevating Turkey's role as a key player. For Gaza, the humanitarian crisis continues, with reconstruction and aid now more distant. A lasting solution requires overcoming deep mistrust and political hurdles. This story highlights the complex nature of global politics and the clash between US goals and regional ambitions. The US-Turkey relationship will continue to shape the Middle East's future.